Okay.
Emily, did you wash your hands?
When I was 10, I had my first beehive. I produced 160 pounds of blackberry honey off of one beehive, which in Oregon, 80 pounds on a hive would be a good year. And I went around and sold Allen's honey to, my dentist and, whoever else would buy a jar of honey. My dad would do Saturday beekeeping classes, and I would go in and, be his assistant, help explain to them what the different types of bees are, the queen and the worker bee and the drone. People who had been at GLORYBEE a long time, they'd razz me and tease me and say, hey, you're gonna run this place someday? Hello? No? Hello? No, no. Hello? Hello, 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 no, 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 no. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Okay, well then. GLORYBEE is 204 people. Most of those people are here in Eugene, Oregon. We are national, and our retail brand is growing nationally. We handle over 50 million pounds of product every year, 50% of which is organic. First-time beekeepers here, raise your hands. Okay. Welcome to beekeeping, a great adventure in your life. We're going to start out by talking about the Hive Location. Our origins are in beekeeping and honey, and that's still a significant part of the business and definitely the heartbeat of the business. Take a lot of pride in the purity and quality of the honey that we buy and sell. Today, we carry over 40 different product lines. Things like natural sweeteners, organic, expeller pressed, non-GMO oils. We also deal a lot in seeds, herbs, and spices. And then 50% of the business is selling ingredients to food manufacturers. We are wholesalers. And then we have our own branded products that make their way out into the grocery store shelves.
The truth of the matter is, we didn't really know what we were getting into at first.
The business basically started with the idea that I was a beekeeper and we were selling beekeeping supplies out of our garage. And out of necessity, we recycled much of what we had to work with.
He would recycle drums and he would wash out totes. Maybe it wasn't the environment in mind. It was out of, hey, I can save some money here.
We've always recycled drums and buckets, and we've always been, bought used things if we could, or equipment, got repaired. We just haven't been wasteful.
I believe sustainability, without us knowing it at first, was a core value that we had, but didn't know that.
My son Alan has really given the major leadership of doing that. And I think it's brought value to the company, and it's brought more integrity to the company.
Mm-hmm.
At the core of kind of my inspiration is this idea of stewardship. The world, has come up with the name sustainability, and yet I kind of go back to stewardship. We're super proud of the progress we've made. A couple of years ago, we had only 6% waste in the business. Out of all the tons of waste that go through the business, only 6% went to the landfill.
I monitor our waste practices, so what gets thrown out into the trash and what gets recycled and what gets composted.
We've just starting to go into CNG trucks, which are compressed natural gas, and that burn fuel more efficiently than our current biodiesel trucks. For 3 years in a row now, we've reduced our water use by 10% every year, and that's just awesome and amazing, particularly because we've been increasing our production by 10% a year.
The environment affects healthy food, and bees are really at the roots of the food supply.
A third of every bite that we eat is pollinated by bees. It's nuts, fruits, and vegetables. Pretty critical to our health and this amazing earth.
Everybody maybe this summer say they're going to plant one flower for a bee. Can you raise your hand if you're going to commit to that? Give yourselves a round of applause.
Bees are incredible, incredible creatures, and I cannot help but look at a bee and realize that there's gotta be a God. I mean, did you know a queen bee lays 2,000 eggs a day? And have you ever heard the expression, the bee's knees? Each of the bee's legs has 2 knees. Pretty cool. 5 eyes, 2 stomachs. One bee creates 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey in its lifetime. It flies 15 miles per hour. A bee flaps its wings 11,000 times per minute. And that's why, bzzz, that's why you hear that, because it's flapping so fast. And you might not know this, but the bees are in danger. This year, they're reporting 50% losses of bee colonies.
There's half as many bee colonies in the United States as there was in World War II. So with growth in population and agricultural demand, to have half as many beehives, is a problem. In 2012, I just was convicted that, being a part of the honey industry and being part of the beekeeping industry wasn't enough. We were standing on the sidelines kind of saying it's a problem and yet not really doing anything ourselves to make a difference. And so I just presented this idea to the team that we start this Save the Bee initiative. And so we did. We have 2 main goals. It's to raise awareness and raise money towards the research. And we started out by giving 1% of all our retail honey and beekeeping sales to this Save the Bee foundation. Since we started in 2012, we've been able to raise $198,000. It's been a difficult business over 42 years, and yet we've been blessed and we've been successful and we're still here.
One of the things I've realized while working here is we all have a sphere of influence, and that sphere of influence it's bigger than we know.
We want to inspire the world to live healthy. We envision a world where people are nourished by food that is not only good for them, but good for the planet.
One of the things that's really important to GLORYBEE and me and our future of being a Christian business in the world and being stewards is when there's an opportunity of something in need, how do we step out in faith?
We have always had the philosophy that we give out of what God's given us first. And that's a legacy that will carry on because what God's given us, we have the privilege to give back.